Even though you're not going,
Yeah.
first time going to Mackinac for the team, I imagine if it's anything like what like our experience has been the last month, you guys are probably ready to just stop talking about it and go and do it and play the game and just experience it. Talk about everything leading up to it.
Yeah, I think the experience part is going to be the best thing about it. Obviously we want to put on a quality brand of soccer. We want to get a win against Northwood, but I think the student athlete experience that we're providing to our players is terrific. And anytime that you can add that into your program, it's a huge tool to develop your culture and also to continue recruiting really good athletes. And I think not from just an athletic standpoint, but from the university as a whole, it's just going to be a great experience that I think everyone is from downstate all the way to the UP. Everybody's going to be excited about it. There's a lot of energy and a lot of buzz about it right now, and probably one of the most interesting things that I've ever done within a college program. And what I found out is a lot of our Michigan players have never been to Mackinac Island. So this is going to be a lot of our players' first time ever being to Mackinac Island.
Yeah, and you're bringing everyone too. Talk about that and why it's important because obviously in season, there's only a certain amount of players that will make that travel squad. But talk about why it was important to bring everyone along for this trip.
Yeah, just because it's so early into our preseason, we want to make sure that our team can bond. You know what I mean? That we can develop the right culture because we're firm believers that in order for us to battle together, we have to bond first. And I think it's going to be really important for our relationships to be developed outside of the game so they can ultimately positively affect the game when we get there. So it's going to be a great experience for everyone to come to get to experience what a road trip is like. And I think if I was going to go to any road trip outside of maybe the GLIAC tournament or the national tournament, I think I would pick the Mackinac Island trip. And this isn't the first experience that we've had together with volleyball. Last year we did some pumpkin carving. We did a beach bonfire night. So our teams gel really well together, and the coaching staff gets together and they get along very well. So I think with that group joining and us being able to be a part of that is truly something special.
Yeah, and where the games are slated, the 12 o'clock volleyball, 5 o'clock soccer, I'd imagine you guys will, depending on how many people can even fit in that gym, be trying to be there and support and then go over and play your respective team.
Yeah, exactly. And I highly doubt that we're going to be able to go into the gym, but I can guarantee you they're going to hear us outside. And I think volleyball can attest to that because anytime it aligns on the road and we can get to a volleyball game or a football game or something there, we're going to go, and we're going to go in full force. And it doesn't matter where we're going, you're going to hear us because it's just great to have that kind of connection within the department. And it just makes everybody within the athletic department stronger and the relationship stronger. I think that's one of the greatest things about the department right now is the teams and the staff fully support one another. It's great to have that connection even outside of the game. And so, yeah, as you alluded to, I doubt that we can get into the gym, but it's going to be great to interact with some of the students that are coming. And also the theater program did an absolute great job at organizing and setting a lot of this stuff up. And we can't thank, President Tessman, Bill Dignite, and all those individuals that did a lot of behind-the-scenes work to get this going. So we're extremely proud and extremely grateful to be headed over there.
Coach, what does practice look like? You're waiting for the experience, and that's the main goal is taking the whole team and having that. But what's practice look like leading up to kind of an event like this?
Yeah, we didn't change too much. Our preseason has been pretty consistent with what we've done over the last 3 years. I'm not sure if you guys were around then, but basically, the way that we developed, myself, my previous assistant, Darian Powell, and Laura Whalen, we've all been to the national tournament as players, and now Laura and I have done it as coaches. So we all sat down and we figured out what were the consistencies when all three of us went, and what worked and what we liked, and that's how we developed our game plan. And so we didn't change anything. We normally do have an exhibition or a scrimmage pretty early on. And especially when you bring in new players and early on in the preseason, we like to play. We want to see what we got. We want to do some evaluation, and then we want to get them going right away and get them into some competition. I think the only way to get match fit is to play matches. And so right now we're getting a lot of minutes underneath our belt, and then we'll start to dial it down a little bit as we approach Saturday. So I think we're going at it hard still, and then we'll start to slow down a little bit come Thursday evening, have a really good time on the island, let them just experience it all on Friday, no training, no nothing, no scout, and then just Saturday do a little bit more of experience in the island and then play in the game.
Has there been a learning curve for you this year as a coach with new players on the roster and more coaching under your belt?
I don't know if there'd be a learning curve, but I think as you go from year 1 to year 4, there's more of an understanding and more of a, I guess if you will, more of a comfortability level of it. Like you have certain checkpoints along the way. You want to meet certain milestones. You want to make sure that they're want to stretch to see how match fit they are. So, right now we played for maybe 60 minutes and stretch some players for 30 minutes within that half. And so we want to ultimately get some players close to anywhere 40, 35 minutes within a half. So I wouldn't say that there'd been a huge learning curve. But one thing that is always important is that you do get those new players acclimated into your system, your brand, and teach them the Wildcat way. Because, once everybody beforehand, they had a way of how they were doing things. They were all some of the best players on their club and their high school, whatever team they're on. And then now that pond is no longer a pond, it's Lake Superior. And now it's much more challenging, and getting those players acclimated, getting them bonded with their players, and getting them to feel comfortable and confident is really always, in my mind, the most difficult part about it, because then you're dealing with human nature rather than the actual game, which as coaches, you spend a lot of time around the game. You've probably played the game for a long time. So it's always, I think, in my mind, the learning curve is staying connected to the younger generation, learning their lingo, you know what I mean? What was it? Mid. I learned a new word today. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to stay hip and trying to get them comfortable and ready to go.
Could you use that in a sentence?
The food was not mid. It was much better. I think that's right. Yeah. I taught him boss.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit older, but boss, that's boss. I know that's not a law around anymore, but that was something growing up. It's boss. Lozier definitely knows that one. Yep.
Sweet. Coach, you touched on fitness a little bit. How would you assess the girls' fitness level coming in from summer break after the first few training sessions?
It was exceptional. I was, pleasantly surprised and happy with the way that we performed in our fitness test. We really use it as a benchmark to see where we're at and to see how much fitness we need to add into our preseason. And, I would say around 90% of our team passed the fitness test. And so me as a coach, I'm sitting there thinking, did I not make this hard enough? But then you can see that fitness level also go into our practice sessions and our training matches to see the level's not dropping off at a certain point. That means they're actually have a really good fitness level. So anytime that you can come in and have a team be as fit as they are right now, that means you don't need to spend any time working on fitness as much. You can actually get into more of the tactical things and playing and spend more time around the game rather than carving out minutes to do fitness. And so it's been really good to see the team just as fit as they are, and I think it's because they're bought in, they've got a belief, they've got to experience a really good year last year, and now all of it that we're talking about currently is the target that we have on our back. And we really feel like there are some teams around the Midwest and the GLIAC that are really gunning for us this year. So we're preparing a little bit harder than we normally do, and I think it's only because our expectations and standards have risen after last year.
Being around this program, has anybody stepped up that has surprised you going into this year, coming off of last year?
You know, it's still early on. You know, I mean, we just completed our third session. I don't know if anyone has surprised me necessarily, besides maybe one or two people that I'm going to keep close to the chest for a little bit, just because I'm a huge bulletin board individual and I watch everyone else's press conferences. So, but I will say that I think if there's anyone that deserves recognition is, there's Izzy, Brenna, Halo, and Gwen, and they're the last players in this program that were already here before I came, and now they're entering in their 5th year, and things were tough. Things were tough, and they had a choice in those moments to decide whether or not they wanted to hit the transfer portal, whether or not Northern was the place for them, or if they just wanted to naturally just quit. And when things did get tough, they got tougher. And those players were a huge part of the turnaround, and they stayed and they bought in, and they were committed to this program and to each other and to the teammates that they had, because to be where we are is largely a part of the classes that believed it and bought into what we were trying to do. Without them, we're not where we are today. And I think if anyone needs recognition, it's those 4, because it's so easy to jump on a portal. It's so easy to leave. And when things got difficult, they just met that challenge head on. And we're extremely grateful that they're in our program. We're very grateful that they stuck around. And I've had them for 4 years now, and it's just been a blessing to have those people in your program.
Coach, what advantage does that do you gain for having players like that? You know, you've had them for 4 years now, and you have a new class coming in. What's the advantage there for those girls that have been here for 4 years to be able to, give some wisdom to those younger players?
Yeah, it's so important, because we want a player-led culture. We want a self-reliant culture. And when you have players that have been through the fire with us and know what it's like, they can then mentor and help those younger players through the process. I kind of joke with our upperclassmen and tell them, like, hey, have you found any consistencies with the way that we approach this season, or the way that we do things? And they're like, yeah, we definitely do. And because it's very much the same each and every year, because we found what works for us. And then obviously we add some tweaks here and there. But when you have a leadership group and also informal leaders within our program, it makes the world of difference. So some of those players may not wear a captain's armband, but they believe that they need to play a massive role into our program to help get the younger players acclimated into what we're doing, and just being another vocal presence, being another positive support system, helping them out through the transition. I mean, everybody that's in Northern Michigan is far away from home. And that can be a difficult transition for a lot of young people when it's the first time they've left home. And what we see is the upperclassmen really take those players under their wing and help them through those difficult times.
The experience itself on the island, obviously super important, but the game itself, what do you see when you look at a team like Northwood? I'm not sure if you've cracked open the scouting book too much yet, but I have to imagine you're probably pretty forward-seeing on that.
Yeah, I mean, new coach. Anytime you get a new coach, and you see that in the GLIAC right now, it's you usually see an uptick. Players have something to prove, and so I fully expect them to be ready to go. And although Mike is not necessarily totally new to the program, anytime, as I mentioned, you get a new coach, that requires other players in that locker room to self-evaluate, have some self-awareness about where they are, because a new coach brings in new ideas, new systems, new starting 11. So I fully expect them to be probably at a different level than they were at last year, just because you're going to have an uptick anytime a new coach comes in. So right now, though, we're really going to focus on us and what we're trying to do, just so that we can prepare for even after Northwood too as well. But You know, anytime you play a team like Northwood, you know what you're going to get, and that's hard work. They're going to battle. They're going to run through you. They're going to be organized, and they're going to be ready for the challenge.
Has the team been watching the World Cup at all to get any strategies off of how the players do it at a national level?
Yeah, I haven't dived too much into about strategies and whatnot with him. It's been more my communication with them about the World Cup has been more of an enjoyment type of thing. To see younger players play the game, see themselves, the females represented on the world stage, and to see so much buzz and excitement about the World Cup is huge for the game. I mean, it's only gonna grow the game in the United States. And one of the things that we usually do during preseason is we watch the documentary about the 1999ers, you know, the 99ers, and the way they changed soccer in general. It doesn't matter about the gender. That group that won the World Cup in '99 changed soccer in the United States. And I remember watching it. I remember where I was when we won the World Cup. And I think that's just so important for them to see themselves represented at a high level and to really watch the world stop what they're doing and celebrate this game.